When it comes to remakes, there's always this love-hate relationship. Some of them get praised for being just as good and even surpassing their predecessors, like A Star is Born and The Invisible Man. But oftentimes they get destroyed, like Flatliners, Ghostbusters, and Mulan.
Disappointed!
When I looked it up, I counted how many movies have been remade in the past 5 years, and I got 46. And I'm pretty sure I missed some. Even though the list of anticipated remakes coming out in the next few years is so long, I just stopped scrolling. This got me thinking about what makes a great remake and what doesn't. I know most people are thinking, why do they have to remake everything? But while I was in film school, I had a teacher tell us there's no new idea out there. So just take parts of stuff you like and make it your own. Hell, Tarantino would not be as famous as he was if he didn't steal most of his shots and ideas and add his own twist to it. The more I watch classic movies and shows, I learned that statement is 100% true. Guess what? Avatar looks unique, but its plot is almost identical to Pocahontas. And don't even get me started on the ideas that have been taken from the Twilight Zone.
Again and again and again!
One thing filmmakers can do is put their own twist to a story and make it better. This is how I got to Love Don't Cost a Thing. The reason why this movie feels so perfect is because I feel like most people who have seen Love Don't Cost a Thing have never seen or heard of Can't Buy Me Love and vice versa. Love Don't Cost a Thing came out in 2003, but around that time I was in middle school and I only stick to mostly black movies and Disney. As I got older and became a teenager, I started to become obsessed with 80 teen movies. And this is when I discovered 5 minutes in, and I started to realize how familiar this movie felt. As soon as Bobby didn't acknowledge Cindy in the interview, that's when I knew. Love Don't Cost a Thing is a remake. After watching it, I dismissed the movie and kept it moving. Now, since both Love Don't Cost a Thing and Can't Buy Me Love are on HBO Max, I decided to watch both again, and that's when I came to the realization that Love Don't Cost a Thing is the perfect remake. The plot is exactly the same, and I mean exactly the same, sometimes even word for word.
Popularity sure makes being treated like a social leper.
Popularity is so much better than being treated like a social leper.
She's giving more rides than Greyhound.
She's giving more rides than Greyhound.
When it comes to characters and small plot points, Love Don't Cost a Thing exceeds the original through and through. Ronald and Alvin have a lot in common. They're both considered nerdy and socially awkward, but the way they were written couldn't be more different. At the beginning of Can't Buy Me Love, Ronald was presented as a hard-working, awkward teen. They made it extremely clear that popularity was what he desired. He would watch Cindy, the other cheerleaders, and the football team from a distance. Even at his weekly poker game with his friends, his mind was constantly on the fun he probably missed out on because he wasn't popular. By the second half of the movie, he turned into an asshole, and I really don't understand why. At the beginning of Love Don't Cost a Thing, Alvin started off just the same as Ronald with the same desires. The difference is, it was clear why he turned into an asshole. Because Paris told him to. On Alvin's and Paris's first date, he showed up with flowers, and this is when Paris explained to him that girls don't like needy, nice guys.
No. Look, just be a little tougher. You know, make like you don't need any girl.
What I like about his character is that even though Paris gave him this advice, he didn't change overnight. At the basketball game, when he and his friends were sitting in their school section, the popular guys bullied Alvin into a tree. When he received his makeover from Paris, when a girl started checking him out, his true and original self stuck out. That's the thing with Alvin. It was a slow and organic change into the popular guy. Even while being surrounded by popular students, viewers saw glimpses of his natural self. Basically what I'm trying to say is that his character change felt natural and authentic, unlike Ronald's. After Cindy and Ronald had their first date at the plane graveyard, it's like he flipped a switch. Now he was rude, cocky, and disrespectful, but not once did I see hints of that attitude earlier in the movie. Another thing is, where did it come from? Cindy didn't tell him that girls don't like nice guys or act like you don't care. He just did it. Even the way he treated other girls seemed so left field. Maybe he got it from the other guys, but the movie never showed where this attitude came from or how his asshole ways slowly started to peak out in the first half of the movie. If they show his natural progression into popularity, I would have an easier time believing it. While in the hallway, Alvin and his friends discuss his need for a camshaft so he can win a college scholarship. Most people know that eventually he uses his pool boy money to date Paris instead of buying the camshaft. This shows what he risked and how bad he wanted to become popular. The stakes were raised and his decision felt more serious and permanent than Ronald. Initially, you could see Ronald wanted to use his hard-earned money to buy a telescope. I'm not saying that it's a waste, because he can do anything he wants with his money. I'm saying that using your money to buy something you enjoy opposed to using it to potentially get a scholarship holds different weights. Writers gave Alvin career goals which added more pressure but also made his character more dynamic than Ronald's. In Love Don't Cost a Thing, it was clear that Alvin grew up with his friends. From having a treehouse where they still hang out to them all working on the car collectively, they genuinely seemed like best friends. I noticed that throughout the movie, it was sort of a back and forth of them reaching out to him and vice versa. Even though I couldn't count Alvin's attempts when he took the car and left them hanging, because that was shady in itself. In Love Don't Cost a Thing, we actually got to see them hang out and have fun with each other before Alvin started hanging out with the popular kids. Outside of their bond, the personality of each friend was clear and distinctive as well. Chuck was the more innocent and kind friend. Walter was the most similar to Alvin because he wanted to fit in with the popular kids. And honestly, he was the most hilarious one out of the group. Shout out to Keenan, you were a part of my childhood. And then there was Kenneth, who was the friend who was side-eyeing Alvin the whole time. In Can't Buy Me Love, Donald only had one genuine friend, and that was Kenneth. Even though there were other guys they would hang out with, it was clear that Kenneth was the only one Donald cared about. On Halloween night, out of peer pressure, he throws dog shit on Kenneth's door. You see, every year the jocks TP Kenneth's house on Halloween, so this time he and his dad decided to set a trap. After Donald throws the feces, Kenneth catches him in a trap, but lets him go once he realizes who he is. What makes this moment so sad was how Kenneth looked so hurt after catching Donald. Even though both movies showed how far Alvin and Donald would go to remain popular, I liked how Can't Buy Me Love showed it because the cut was a lot deeper in their friendship. Can't Buy Me Love took a darker approach while Love Don't Cost a Thing was more lighthearted. When it came to Paris's friends, even though look-wise they were distinctive, they all have similar attitudes to one another. Cindy's friends were similar in personality just like Paris's. They all didn't seem to be genuine friends to one another. Before I get into the second half of this video, I want to give a shout out to my non-existent imaginary sponsor, Shasta Cola.
Don't give me that soda, the same old cola. I wanna Shasta, I wanna taste pizzazz.
Aretha and Chuck were meant to be one and the same. They meddled in their older siblings' lives, but only one of them actually served a purpose. Chuck snuck in the back seat on dates and hid in the bushes at house parties, and it was all for nothing. He didn't use that information for gains or money or even leverage. That's why Chuck's character seemed kind of pointless because it didn't push the plotline any further. Aretha, on the other hand, made Alvin's journey come full circle. She was not only the first person to notice his changes, but she also used the information she gained on Alvin to snitch. She told their parents how he used the money for his car part to date Paris. In turn, this is when Alvin had an honest conversation with his dad, and it seems like it was the first time they ever had one like this. Without Aretha snitching, I don't know if he and his dad would have had that candid conversation. Cindy and Paris's mom both played a tiny role in the movie, but actually, Can't Buy Me Love used her character a little bit better. At the beginning of the movie, Sharon is introduced as a single mom. When a creepy and disgusting guy comes to pick up Sharon for a date, it's clear that Cindy is tired of her mom going out on dates all the time. Almost towards the end of the movie, after Cindy had a bad date, she's shocked to see her mom home on a Friday night. I thought this moment was important because it shows the bond they have despite her mom's dating habit. After Ronald called for the 20th time, her mom questioned Cindy about the situation. And this is when Cindy had the realization that her and Ronald's social status shouldn't matter.
First he's a geek, and then you start going out with him. And then he's a geek again. Honey, I don't know what a geek is.
I guess at the present time, a geek is Ronald Miller.
Who says?
In Love Don't Cost a Thing, Judy was kind of there. In one deleted scene, Paris asked her mom if she ever regretted breaking up with someone.
Really? Why? I don't know. I just didn't think I was good enough for him. He was the son of our preacher. I was the daughter of the bar owner. Your father lived in a house. We lived in the motel above the bar. We were just from two very different worlds. And although I knew I loved him, I broke up with him before he could even think about dumping me.
But something obviously brought you guys back together. What made you change your mind?
Your father was a very clever man. And he proved to me that it didn't matter that people were from different worlds. Because in here, we shared the same dream.
This scene was a push that Paris would have needed to give Alvin another chance. I get that Judy's character was there for quick laughs, but outside of that, she never helped move the story forward. Ronald's parents, David and Judy, were just ordinary, normal families, and you would, kind of call them wholesome parents. They ask about grades and crack corny jokes. Honestly, there isn't much to say about them. I do see tiny similarities between Ronald's parents and Alvin's, though. They continue to use words like groovy, constantly only listen to music from the 60s, which was exactly like... Clarence, played by the legendary Steve Harvey, turned out to be one of my favorite characters from this movie. Every scene he was in, he stole it. Love Don't Cost a Thing took that tiny trait from Can't Buy Me Love and basically made it Clarence's whole personality. And it was perfect. The fact that the house, his clothes, his music, hell, even his kids' names, came straight out of the 70s. Outside of his hilarious scenes, I like how he and Alvin's relationship grew and changed throughout the movie. While having dinner at the beginning of Love Don't Cost a Thing, Clarence made it clear that he would like Alvin to make love at his age. You see, Clarence was popular when he was in high school, so he always wanted his son to have the same kind of experience. When he finds out that Alvin has a date with Paris, not only does he have the sex talk with him once, but twice. Honestly, he was waiting for that moment and it felt like a rite of passage. In one of my favorite scenes, Clarence even attempted to block Alvin's friends from coming into the house because
Alvin dating a girl now.
Once Aretha tells Clarence and Vivian everything, this is when Clarence actually has the real talk that Vivian always wanted him to have. Clarence buys a camshaft and they have a heart-to-heart. I love that Love Don't Cost a Thing added this moment because Alvin gets to hear from his dad that he's proud of him and that he knew he was special from a young age. I think this conversation plays into Alvin's desires to be popular. It makes him realize that he should be happy and proud to be exactly who he is. His father confirms that, pushes Alvin to finish the car in a short amount of time and to stay true to himself. In Can't Buy Me Love, the biggest issue I had with Cindy is that we didn't get to see much about her outside of her popularity. One of the starting plot lines was the relationship she had with Bobby. This story was very similar to Paris's, but less believable. After Cindy watched the interview where Bobby did not claim her on TV, the only response she had was to ditch his Leatherman jacket and go out with her friends. She did mention that Bobby bought her the suede outfit even though it was her mother's, but that was the last time she mentioned him. Throughout the rest of the movie, she didn't bring him up, talk about him to her friends, or even express how Bobby's actions made her feel. The only time she barely spoke about him was when Ronald consistently and randomly brought him up in conversations. Why he kept doing that? I have no idea. On the other hand, when Paris is dissed by Drew, she paged him immediately. Not only that, but the next day she wore a whole outfit dedicated to him. The night she wrecked her mom's truck, she was on the phone with him demanding that he
Say my name.
Better say my name.
I loved that Love Don't Cost a Thing showed Drew's hoish ways, including these small scenes with Drew showed how invested Paris was into him. And to be fair, Alvin did mention Drew once but never brought him up again. Bobby, on the other hand, is this athlete with no personality who Cindy never mentions and dismisses him right after the interview. The only time she seems concerned about him was when he showed up at a high school party and Cindy exposed everything. One of the biggest issues with Cindy is that we didn't get to see her depth. In Can't Buy Me Love, we saw that Cindy was a cheerleader, was popular, and that she wrote poetry. When Ronald is washing her car, he told her she could do anything, and that's when she decides to show her poetry to him. After Ronald gifted her a folder for her poems, that was the last time it was ever brought up. Her sharing and her passions were not earned, and they didn't even lead anywhere. The only thing Cindy had over Paris is that she takes up for herself more. Don't get me wrong, she told him off when they were at the beach, but in my opinion, it just wasn't enough. When Ronald broke up with her cruelly,
For 1 month, you draped all over me like a cheap fucking suit.
she slapped him. In the scene where Cindy was on a date with a college guy, when she felt disrespected, she dumped a milkshake all over his car. Cindy was constantly taking up for herself. Paris would get disrespected, get upset, and then get over it. Throughout this movie, they made it clear multiple times that Paris's passion was for music. While she was playing an original song she wrote, Alvin walked in. The way he found out felt so much more natural than her presenting her dreams to him. They also used this to show what Paris would be gaining and learning with this arrangement with Alvin. When she shared her dreams with her friends, they dismissed how she felt and told her she's going to be the wife of an NBA player. So why does singing even matter? Alvin helped her realize that her dreams were valid and worth exploring. Even though it was a deleted scene, the movie was originally supposed to show her actually moving to the city and performing her music in front of others. By giving Paris passions in a major personal decision, they improved on her character and gave viewers something to root her character for. I know this whole video I've been praising Love Don't Cost a Thing, but there are some things they got wrong. There were homophobic and sexist remarks in the story, but the main thing I didn't like was the ending. Even though Alvin disrespected Paris not only in the hallway, on the beach, and used her poem on another girl, he never apologized. After Paris chases after him during the game, she goes on a little rant and then they kiss. That's it. No sorry, nothing. At least in Can't Buy Me Love, she gets a genuine apology. I don't even remember Alvin attempting to talk to her to say he's sorry. He rights his wrongs with his friends, but for Paris, he did none of that. Even though Can't Buy Me Love got a lot of things wrong, like their love story wasn't very believable, and they made a mockery of what they thought was African culture, I have to give them props on their ending. It was kind of perfect. After Donald was exposed, he attempted to apologize to Cindy at home and at school. In the last 20 minutes, he continuously stayed outside of her house, cutting the lawn. I know now that that's stalking, but I give him more credit than Alvin because he at least attempted to right his wrongs. Another thing this movie got right was the cinematography. Again, and again. One of the key ingredients that Love Don't Cost a Thing got right was changing the culture. When you watch both movies, they both feel of their time, but nothing like Love Don't Cost a Thing. The clothing, the music, the style, and the slang showcased Black culture in 2003.
Nobody uses the word tramp anymore. You know, it's more like chicken head or hoochie.
It's not even like, oh well, this movie was made in 2003, so it has some of those elements. Love Don't Cost a Thing was like, we don't care how this movie ages, we're gonna throw every slang word and every pop culture reference, and that's what I love about it. It's like Mean Girls. Of course people obsess over the movie because it's actually good, but the fashion in that movie keeps its popularity going. The same can be said about Clueless. I appreciate them showing Black culture loud and proud, and more movies need to be like this. When it comes to other remakes, showing a new or different culture can be beneficial if shown the right way. Imagine a Girls Just Want to Have Fun with an all-Asian cast, or an all-black St. Elmo's Fire, or even the Goonies with an all-minority cast. Adding diverse characters while including their culture, not acting like it doesn't exist, would change the game. I also couldn't finish this video without shouting out the clothes from both movies. Cindy had a few cute looks, but Paris's clothes? I know time makes a huge difference when it comes to remakes, but improving characters, creating more conflict, adding more layers on a character's decisions, and even adding more culture can make a remake better than the original. And Love Don't Cost a Thing did exactly that. To close this video, I do want to say that I don't think this movie is a masterpiece, but neither was the original. This movie did what Can't Buy Me Love did, but better, and that's why I think Love Don't Cost a Thing is the perfect remake. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.